You're listening to SM Media, the #1 place for exclusive content.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Scottish Football Show Extra right here on SM Media. I'm Scott McPike. It's an absolute pleasure to be your host as always. We've got a Rob Roy special this week. We're delighted to be joined by the Rob Roy manager, Stewart Maxwell. Stewart, it's a pleasure to welcome you on the show. Thanks for coming on.
Hi Scott, how you doing? Thanks mate, appreciate it.
Brilliant, pleasure to have you on. We're also joined by the Rob Roy captain, Scott Walker. Scott, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thanks for having us on, mate.
Brilliant, absolutely looking forward to this as well. We are obviously going to talk about Rob Roy's season as well. If you've seen the show, you'll know how the layout works. We'll talk about the season so far. We'll talk about the guys' careers in the game. We'll put them in the spot with some quick-fire questions. We'll open the floor to some stories we have, and we'll dig some dirt in the boys. And then we'll preview what's coming up for Rob Roy in the next couple of weeks. But we'll get right into the season so far for Rob Roy. 19 points from 14 games so far, 6 wins, 1 draw, 7 defeats in the WOSFL Scotland Premier Division so far this season. Stewart, at the start of the season, we spoke about the main prerogative for a lot of teams was just be staying up. What would your thoughts be in the start so far? Are you content with how the season's went so far?
I think at the start of the season we spoke, and I'll be honest, I don't listen to a lot of the podcasts, but I sort of like to listen to when the predictions at the start of the season. I think everybody had us in the bottom 7, and rightly so, and not just on your predictions, but in other podcasts I listen to as well. And I always thought, I get that, I understand. We had a poor season prior to lockdown, and Rob Roy went through a total rechange of players and personnel, and brought in a sort of younger, dynamic squad, kept a core, a couple of experienced players, Scotty being one of them. And I could see why people would think that we would be, but it's always going to be tough. I think I said to you at the start of the season, 7 going down, but there's always a potential of being a couple of shock teams in there as well, because seasons never usually pan out. There's always a shock troop, and there's always somebody that's expected to do well that struggles. That's just the nature of every league probably. But after the start, we had the first 4 games. It was a bit of soul searching, because it'd be really tough to lose 4 games in that league in a row, especially a young squad that are trying to get a bit of confidence, and who a majority are playing at this level for the first time. But after bouncing back a bit, and we won 4 in a row, and we sort of steadied the ship a bit. To be honest, I think we're into the first third of the season now. I think officially first third over and done with. For me, budget-wise, where the club's at, with the players I've brought in, I'm satisfied just now, because I think we're improving, and I think we'll get better as the season goes on.
Yeah, definitely. Scott, what's your thoughts been in the start of the season, and how excited are you to be back playing after a long layoff?
The first 4 games are obviously difficult, but if after the Troon game, driving up the road, I was like, we're going to struggle here. I'd have been surprised if, looking back then, where we are now, I'd have been surprised if we were in this position now, but we've done well to dig ourselves out, I think.
Mm-hmm. What's it been like for you as well, getting back into football after a long layoff, back to kind of Wednesday, Saturday, back training? What's it been like?
Well, we sort of still played, but you can tell the difference right away. It's a bit more competitive, I think. You can notice the difference, and I kind of like the Saturday, Wednesdays. I like the 2 games in the week, so I did, but it's good to get a rest now. You're just into the Saturdays, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Stuart, you spoke about the 4 defeats to start the season. Ben Bar, Auchinleck, Clydebank and Troon. It's 4 difficult games. It's obviously a league though where if you don't get a good start, you could be in trouble early on. But was there a bit of kind of soul searching, as you say, after those first 4 games? And what was your kind of reaction to the 4 games as a whole?
If I take them into isolation, quickly, I think the Ben Bob game, Scott will probably agree, was a tough one for us. We started the game really well. Probably, I thought we were a better team majority of the first half, and then we lost a really scrappy goal right on half time. And if you remember on that day, Scott Walker, sorry, it was very, very windy. The conditions weren't great, and we huffed and puffed the second half, and they were very resilient, Ben Bob, and fair play to Ben Bob. They work really hard, they defend. I think Paul Lovern's got them set up really well, and they've got limited resources as well. And I was lucky enough to watch them against Darvel the other week there, and Darvel are top side, but I mean Benbow really worked hard and got a good ethic about them, and so I knew it was a difficult game, but I thought we deserved something at that game. But again, we lost by the odd goal and moved on to the Talbot game. I think everybody's got the fear rocking like Talbot, but I think they're a different team this year because they're introducing a lot of new players, younger players, and it'll take a bit of time for them to get into the Talbot way of thinking and the resilience. But again, when I say that, when they get into it, they've not lost a game yet, but they're playing a slightly different style from what I've seen over a number of years. And I get that because, like I said, they've introduced a lot of younger players, but a tough game. But we were in that game. Our goalkeeper Tory Stymos, so after 20 minutes, we never had another goalkeeper on the bench, and he let in a shanking free kick. And if he was on the show, I'd tell him it wasn't his best free kick. And you know yourself, when the Talbot get in front, they're very, very difficult to get back, pin back. And we had a spell in the second half. We think we hit the post. Wishman had an unbelievable save, and then they scored late on. But so again, disappointing. Never scored. So it was 2 games in a row we hadn't scored. Then we moved on to the Clydebank game. 42 teams were poor on the day. I think it was a good spectacle, and it was panning out to look like a nothing each affair. And then the boys got inside about 5 minutes to go, and it's an absolute worldie. I don't know. I was right behind it. I don't know if it was his weak foot or no, but it's one of the ones that just went flying into the top bin again. Another one slipped away, never scored. Then we moved on to the Troon game, was it? Yeah, Troon, yeah. I'm actually, Scott will tell you, I said we must score, lads. Now we must get a goal, get off the mark. We hadn't scored in 3 games, and they took a point. And we did, we scored early doors. And up until then, we've been really resilient defensively. I thought we'd done really well. And then that night we got an early goal, and we should have went 2-0 up. Boy Michael Bay went through 1-on-1 with the keeper, and the keeper's had a great save, and then Troon came into it, and Troon are a good side. I mean, I was quite impressed with Troon that night, and we ended up they turned us over 4-2, but we abandoned ship that night defensively. I didn't think we defended well. We lost a few poor goals. 2 or 3 of the goals are really poor, and probably deserved to get beat on the night overall in the game. But again, we started the game really well. And again, like the other games, we had periods where we were right in the games, but driving up the road that night was a tough one for us because me and Chris, my assistant, were down together. And you're just, like I said earlier there, like you're thinking, this could be a long season. And you know what younger players are like, their confidence. They build on their confidence, and obviously 4 defeats in a row. And then we knew the next game was massive, you know what I mean, coming up for us, looking at the league table. And so it was a tough start, but they were tight games, but we never took anything from them.
Mm-hmm. Scott, see that after those kind of 4 defeats to start the season, how big was that game against Kilbirnie? Obviously, Kilbirnie were in a similar situation. They lost their first 4 games as well. And to get that win, just how big a boost did that give the dressing room?
That was massive. I think everybody knew going into that game that we had to probably take something, if not win it. But that was good to get off the mark that day. But I think that's what it's got to be. About beating teams running about us this year, then hopefully picking up as many points as we can.
Mm. Stuart, obviously that Kilbirnie game kicked off a good run of 4 straight wins, a big win against Kirkintilloch, and then beating Blantyre and Bonneton as well. It must have gave you a lot of confidence as well that how well the team bounced back for a disappointing start to then pick up 4 wins in the bounce.
I was, for me, Scott, it's all about the players. I was delighted for the players because they answered a few questions to themselves as a squad, and they answered a few questions to people that have had us as cannon fodder all year. I think, to be honest, every prediction had us bottom of the league. So it was good for them, and I was delighted for them because they've worked ever so hard. They're a great bunch of boys, and there's a lot of talent in that squad. And to get the win against Kilbirnie, albeit we missed a penalty on that day, made it very difficult for ourselves that day. I thought we should have won that game by more. We definitely thought we were better position than 1-0. Kirkintilloch was a tough game because Kirkintilloch a decent side again. Or as I probably echoing, every team seems to be a decent side. Kirkintilloch a decent side. It was a very, very even, but we scored a late goal. Ian Goal scored a header. But I don't think we could say we didn't deserve it because a couple of twists of fate earlier on in the season. We haven't had breaks. We scored late and got another one, and then went to Blantyre, kept another clean sheet. Again, Scott will tell you down there, we should have won that game by more. Again, we would have been all season, no taking our chances. And then Bonington was very similar when we played Bonington in the season. We played 7 games prior.
Yeah.
It was a very similar game. Bonington are very, very attack-minded, young, very gung-ho, and caused us for 35, 40 minutes, caused us major problems, but we got to grips with it, and we're obviously in a bit of form as well, seeing a spin, and then we got that, and it was good. I mean, let's say it's all credit to the players, because they went 4-0, lost 4 and won 4, and you know how massive back-to-back wins can be in this league, never mind going stinging 4 wins in a row, which is probably see Glenafton. I think I've just won 4 or 5 in a row in fair difficult positions, so it's massive if you can do this in this league, and it's so tough. And them that can go and string 4 or 5 wins in a row in the bottom half of the league makes a massive difference, I think.
Yeah. Scott, see, obviously, as we were talking there about those 4 straight wins, did it give a boost to the dressing room that the kind of start was a bit kind of unfair to you, and then you could build for that poor start and go on a good run?
I think we could see that, definitely, because there's a young group of boys we've got, so we're going to be inconsistent, but I think they just need a wee bit of belief to think they can go and actually win games. Then I think I think.
Yeah, you went on the 3-1 game against Glenafton at Newcombe. I was at that game actually, and I just thought it was a bit. First half, I thought you were a bit unlucky, just with no taking chances. Glenafton took their chances, as me and Stewart Scott spoke about it off air as well. It was a game that was maybe on another day could have went a different way. Like Stewart, we spoke about that off air. Was that a kind of game you felt was just a bit unlucky?
Well, if we went down that day, like I said to you off air, and we've had a lot of COVID issues. I think we had 7 or 8 players out.
I was suspended.
I suspended as well. But I think the game hinged on, as I said, we never took our chances when we were on top of the game. But a couple of poor decisions went against us as well. Like we were well seen. Your second goal should never have stood, and then we've been denied an absolute stonewall penalty at important points of the game. But again, that's not me trying to create a hard luck story. They're just the facts. But overall, again, I thought we should have took something for that game. And but the situation leading up to the game, we having 7 or 8 players out didn't help, and we really had to shuffle the pack that day. But it was disappointing in the fact that we had a bit of continuity in the 4 games prior, and to lose that with injuries, suspensions, and COVID situations, and it sort of shuffled the pack too much for us. So I think it just was a bridge too far. But like I say, poor decisions on the day for the referee didn't help us either, to be honest.
Scott, you went on to a 3-0 home defeat to Rutherglen, and that was a kind of result that I thought was a bit of a surprise. Mainly, I think probably Rob Roy and Rutherglen, maybe the table shows are maybe a team that are very similar, but it must have been disappointing, a 3-0 home defeat to a team kind of similar level to you.
It was definitely disappointing, but I came away impressed with Glencairn that night. That's the first I'd seen them, but I thought they were a very decent side, to be fair.
Mm-hmm. What was your thoughts on the Rutherglen results, Stuart?
I thought Glencairn were excellent, especially first half. Thought they were really, really good. Deserved their win on the night. 3-0 was a bit harsh on us, I thought, because we rallied a wee bit the second half, and again, going to a refereeing decision, the boy dived for. It was actually highlighted on Twitter, I think, because I hadn't seen it, but we knew it was a dive, but they deserved their win. Glencairn, I thought, agreeing with Scott, I thought they were, especially first half, very impressive. But we missed an open goal at 2-0. Gary Arbuckle hit the post for a header. It should have went in, and you know yourself, big moments in the game. But no, I was impressed with Glencairn on the night. I thought they deserved to beat us that night, but I thought maybe 3-0 was a wee bit harsh on us.
We'll move on to talking about the 2 wins against Rossvale and Cumbernauld. Again, Scott, how important is it to beat teams that are probably going to be in the mix, similar to you, at that end of the table? Is it important to get the big wins against those teams?
I think so. I think that's what's going to be vital for us this year, definitely. So it was obviously good to get 6 points after the 2.
What kind of things for the games did you take away, like Rossvale, Cumbernauld? They're 2 big wins, as we say, against 2 teams that are probably going to be kind of similar, kind of budget-wise and things like that. Are those the kind of games you're looking to as kind of must-win games?
Yeah, I think definitely Rossvale. I think I think that was our best performance this season. I think that's the game we created a lot of chances. I mean, we played for 10 men for about 30 minutes. But I mean, I give Rossvale credit, because they came and they try and play football, and they don't deter for that, no matter how much pressure they're under or what the scoreline is. They try and play it for the back, and they try and play through the lines, middle to front, and they stick by it. But we were impressive that day, and I seen a different side to us when we went down to 10 men. We created a lot of chances. We were hungry, and it's a game it could have flipped. As you know, we went down to 10 men, but we didn't. Cumbernauld, an ambitious team, got an ambitious chairman who back their manager financially. I know that. They've seen a couple of signings he's made. I thought Cumbernauld again started really well against us. We scored against the run of play. We were a wee bit. Scott, we were a wee bit all over the place. First 15, 20 minutes. They were very, very good for half an hour, but they played with real intensity. They got a deserved equaliser for me and one each at half time. But I just said to my players, listen, I don't think they can play with that intensity for the second period of the game. And we turned the screw on them in the second half. And at the end up, we did deserve a victory. But again, Cumbernauld played a shape and a formation that for 35, 40 minutes caused us major problem. But we didn't help ourselves. And that's frustrates me at times because we don't help ourselves. It's a lot of silly errors and just standards at times of things like clearances and decision making. But again, as I've highlighted with all the teams I've mentioned so far, they've all got their own threats and their dangers, and they've got the quality within their team. So it was two good results. I know we were at Cumbernauld, but it was officially our away game. Mm-hmm. But no, it was good because, like I say, they are round about us in the league. So it's, as Scotty said, it's important we can pick up as many points as we can. The teams round about us.
Yeah, definitely. We'll move into the draw against Lags, and we'll talk about the game on Saturday that obviously happened last weekend. The draw against Lags, Scott, were you unlucky that day, do you think?
I think for being up 1-0 then being 2-1 down, we were one of the greatest in the second half, so I think 2-each was probably a fair result. But with the chances we created in the last 10 minutes, I think we probably deserve to just nick it. I think.
Yeah, there was big talk. It's what the people I spoke to as well that day said Rob Roy were very unlucky not to pick up 3 points. But Stewart, was that a game that you felt was you were kind of unlucky not to get the result?
For 40 minutes in the first half, we were excellent. And speaking to Liam McVeigh, who's a good pal of mine, and spoken to Stuart Davison after it.
Yeah,
they said he couldn't get near us for 45 minutes. We're dominant, but it's been very prevalent in our season. We're 1-0 up. Should have. I don't know if we created a lot of chances in the first half. Definitely had a lot of pressure on them. But with a minute to go to half time, we've got a corner kick. And within a minute, it's been transferred up the park. For us protecting the ball in the corner got overhit. And Lars went up the park and scored on right at half time. So you know yourself, getting in at 1 each at half time, and they probably, on balance of play, could have been more than 1 down. They've galvanised themselves when they come out the second half, as Scotty said. First 20-25 minutes, they were excellent. Deserved to go 2-1 up. But the last 15 minutes, the chances we created were unbelievable. And how we never... It was great we got an equaliser, because we hadn't done that all season. We hadn't battled back from being behind to nick a point or get something else out of the game. But the chances we had the last 15 minutes, as Scotty says, we should have nicked the game, to be honest. But again, Largs show their qualities and points as all the other teams have done, and they've proved that on their day they've picked up a couple of big away wins. I've noticed as well, big away win at Cumbernauld and a big away win on Saturday. So again, they've got their qualities, and Arnie and Liam have got them well organised down there.
Yeah, the game on Saturday, Scott, it was obviously a 4-1 loss to Pollock, and it was again Pollock are sitting second in the league, so we know their qualities. We don't need to explain just how impressive they've been so far this season, but were you frustrated at the game on Saturday?
Again, I think Pollock will be right up there this year, but with the rain worth at times, some of the goals we lost on Saturday were terrible. You've probably seen them. So
I saw one in particular. Yeah, we've been asked about that. How's that? We've got a question about that later on, but was it just a disappointing result?
Aye, it definitely was. I think we started off pretty well as well. I think we started off well, then just the first and the second goal just deflated us. I think the second one anyway. Yeah.
Stuart, what was Saturday like? Were Pollock just a far better team on the day?
I think they were more clinical. I think first goal, don't get me wrong, we've lost a header, but the boy McCann's made a run, peeled off it. Good finish. Second goal was just a joke, as far as I'm concerned. And as you know, I don't mince my words, to be honest. Third goal's a mistake as well. But in between the second goal and the third goal, and before they scored, we had good spells in the game, and we caused them a few problems. I know we get beat 4-1 on paper, it's a thumping, but I didn't think it was. Spoke to Murdy going off the park. I've not had a chance to talk to him this week, but he's quite impressed with us. Good legs. I thought Midley Park were really, really good against him. I thought our midfield three probably get the better of him. But Park, a top side. Murdy's doing really well, getting well drilled, and they were just clinical, and they scored at big moments in the game. But you make mistakes against top sides, you get punished. And Scotty said their goals are poor, and we can't hide for that fact. And like I say, if you're going to play any top 2, 3, 4, make them mistakes, they're going to score. And again, we didn't take the chances that came to us in the game. So it was disappointing, but it was important points in the game.
Yeah. We'll touch, obviously we've touched on all the games in the league. We'll touch a bit on your kind of run in the Junior Cup as well. You beat Greenock and then Glentonar. You played Carnoustie in the third round. Scott, what's that cup been like so far this season, and how important was it that Rob Roy continued to play in it?
I think it's always important to get a good cup run. I think, like I heard Max saying before we came on, I don't know much about Carnoustie, so for what I've heard, they're the favourites, so we'll go up there and just try and get the win, I think.
Stuart, was that a big club decision to take part in that competition after a few teams have kind of dropped out, and how important is it to have a good run in that competition this year?
Club decision for me was supporters. Our supporters are very traditional, and it wasn't going to be me. I've got a good relationship with our supporters, and so is my chairman. So, chairman has said to me, "What's your thoughts on it?" And I went like, "I know. Obviously, I've been at Rob Roy for a long time. I know the supporters would want to be in that competition. So it didn't matter if it's an overload of games or it's going to be a finance or a burden. For our supporters' sake, they live a day out, and we were never going to pull out the Scottish Junior Cup on behalf of that. And I wasn't going to be the man that was going to do that, take away the history of Rob Roy in that cup. So no, it was never in our thoughts to pull out it, and it's a good competition to be in for us. I think it's a competition where we've got a wee opportunity if we can get results on the day. We can maybe progress to the latter stages, I think. Yeah, but it'll be a tough game, as we said. They Carnoustie there seem to be doing well, but like I say, I'll go and watch them Saturday and I'll get a gauge of how good a side they are, because like I said to you off air, I don't know what the standards of the leagues are now, but I know they'll be a decent side, but I'll get a gauge when I go and see them playing Saturday.
Yeah, definitely. We'll touch a wee bit just on, before we move into talking about your careers in the game so far, Scott, how important is it? Obviously last year you were one of the teams that decided to take part in the league with no crowd, and obviously the equipment and things like that, everything was just not the way it should be. How important is it this year to have kind of things as close to normal as possible and the fans back, more importantly?
I think it's majorly important. Even like the changing rooms, see, having changing rooms back, that makes a big difference. There's nothing worse than going to a game you've not got a change room. But you can tell the difference just playing for 3 points that matter anyway. You can definitely tell.
Yeah, definitely. But we'll touch about in your careers as well. We've spoke about the season so far. Stuart, you had a really good playing career. What was your kind of highlights of your playing career? Obviously, you spent time at the Buffs, Rob Roy and things. What was your kind of main highlights of your playing career?
I think always winning things was, if you look back, quite lucky to win a few league titles, a few clubs, and played the Scottish Junior Cup final, won the West League Cups, etc. And when I played through East, I won a few cups as well. So probably playing as an occasion, I would say as an occasion, getting to the Junior Cup final was a great build-up, and the buzz and the feeling. And when I got to the final, we'd done things properly. We stayed the night at the hotel the night before and things like that. So it was live in the telly at that point as well. So I think getting to a Junior Cup final at that stage, because it was junior football then, is a pinnacle. But you can't beat winning anything. It doesn't matter if it's a League Cup, a West, a league title. But winning at any level is what you want to do. And like I say, I was lucky enough to do that a few times. And so I would say just anything I did win was a highlight, but definitely probably a personal pinnacle was getting to a Junior Cup. Obviously, we lost to Talbot and unbelievably lost to a 40-yard header. I still laugh at the thing. I actually tell people, I think, because I'm always at the wind-up, I think I'm at the wind-up, it was a 40-yard Stephen Marlin header we lost to. So that still doesn't sit well with me 14 years later. Do you know what I
mean? Yeah, definitely. Scott, obviously you started off at Kilmarnock as well. What was your kind of memories of coming through there?
Well, I was off through my younger days. I was with Livingston up to I think it was 17, 18. Then I went Mallet for a year and a half. But it was good to be full time, obviously, and just see the way football players operate, basically.
Now, who were some of the good players that came through at that time with you as well?
Liam Kelly, I think he's down south playing. It's been a lot of good players. Daniel Mackay was another good one. Scott Hansen.
Yeah.
There's been a few good ones.
Brilliant. Stuart, obviously you stopped playing football and kind of went into the coaching side and then into management. Was that always the plan when you were playing football, to go to that kind of coaching level?
No, because I sort of 2 good years Petershill when I thought I was done, to be honest. But I went in and played, I hardly missed a game. And we actually played Rob Roy at Adamsley, and I knew there was a bit of unrest because obviously I'd been there as a player and I kept a good relationship with the committee. I knew there was a bit of unrest with the manager and the results, and Rob Roy had been well renowned that year for spending heavily on players. We actually went in that day and I scored. We beat them 4-1. I scored the first goal, and it was always a bit surreal because I'd won a couple of league titles at Rob Roy and had a good spell there. And then after the game, I sort of spoke to the committee and they said to me, "Look, we're thinking of changing things. Is it something you would think about?" And honestly, it was right out of the blue, and maybe I'm like, I need to have a think about it. And because my natural progression would have probably went in with Willie Patterson and helped him, and maybe done coaching or maybe an assistant at some point, and maybe then stepped up if I thought I was going to be. But when I sort of had that, obviously Rob Roy decided to change our manager, and I sort of spoke to the committee. I was like, I started to think about it for the next couple of weeks, and then they'd done the natural due diligence interviews, narrowed it down. But I sort of knew I was getting it, if that makes sense, because just you could just tell the way they spoke to me, and I'd really prepared myself, brought in a bit of experience with me as well, and but I had no plans to go into it, and then I sort of never done the natural progression coach and assistant and get a manager's job, so I had to sort of like self-teach myself things, which was hard the first couple of years because Rob Roy were a bit have been since I've been there. An infrastructure's not been great, and I never had one signed player when I went in, and so it was a tough learning curve and it was difficult. But I tend to put my heart and soul into things. I put myself right into them, and I decided to do that with Rob Roy because I was determined that I wanted them to do well, and a good club, like I say, great people, great support, but probably again at a right difficult time for them off the field, as well documented with their situation with the pitch. So, to answer your question, it definitely wasn't part of my agenda at that point.
Scott, obviously we'll touch a bit on your time at Rob Roy as well. How much have you enjoyed since you went there, and what's it like, obviously being named the captain and kind of taking that responsibility on?
I've loved every minute of being at Rob Roy, to be honest with you. Had some really good teams, went close to winning a few things. I think we should have. First couple of years I was there, definitely. I'm just enjoying being a captain. I think I sort of maybe fell into it the year everybody left, but like I said, I know Max saying Chris trust me, so it's something I'm enjoying.
Stuart, how important is it for yourself? Obviously, you said there about having a young squad this year. How important is it to have the experience of like Scott there?
Scott will probably be the first to say. He probably back when we say we had right good sides. Scott probably wasn't a captain then, but he stepped up to the mark, and his first year was difficult. But now he's for me, he's probably one of the best right backs in the league. Just consistent, good nature, good with the lads. Me and Chris, as you said, we trust him. We go on. We treat him as in our wee circle, and he can come to us if anybody's got any issues, and we deal with it. And we go to him if we've any issues, and he'll present anything we want to do. So he's grew into a leader, and if he keeps going the way he's going, it'll be a Rob Roy great as far as I'm concerned, especially over the last 20-30 years, for how he's performed as well. So no, he's definitely matured into that role, and he's getting better as he gets older, and he's taking the responsibility on board, and he knows the standards that are required. Not just like at any club, you expect your captain to be best trainer, leading the example in the park. His performance in the park a different class for us every week, He delivers. So no, he's definitely grew into that role tremendously for me anyway.
Brilliant. This is the part of the show where we put you in the spot. We've got a quick fire questions round and a teammates round. So we'll put Stuart through the quick fire questions round. What were you going to say?
This is the bit I'm looking forward to.
That's the bit you're looking forward to. There's a couple of things that are going to be kind of on the cuff. We'll start with you, Stuart. Are you ready?
Yes.
Gerrard or Postecoglou?
Gerrard.
How much has the infrastructure changed since you went into the club, and how can it be improved?
Since I went into the club as a manager?
Aye, we'll go with manager, because I don't think as a player.
Well, because it was very good when I was a player. As a manager, it needs to improve because the infrastructure's very, very fractured, and they need a pitch and they need a base. They need to be back in Kirkintilloch, and that needs to happen within the next 18 months, I think.
Yeah. Have you got ambitions to move up the ladder personally as a manager?
I think I've signed myself to Rob Roy tomb, to be honest. I think there's my name in the graveyard up there. So I think the only thing that would change for me if Rob Roy didn't get to a new pitch. I think I'm ambitious as any manager is, but if Rob Roy can progress and move back home, I wouldn't see me managing another club if that happens.
Messi or Ronaldo?
Ronaldo.
You can pick 3 players from the West of Scotland Premier Division teams to sign. Who would it be and why?
I think I've signed half of them. And I've moved on. 3 players and why? Well, I've got to go for players that I've no signed with. So I would say Andy Wishman. The reason being, I think over the years he's been unbelievable for the Talbot, and against us he's put up top class performances. I think for them he's worth double digits in points alone per season in his performances. So I would definitely say Andy Wishman. Current players, isn't it? Aye, current players. Aye. I would probably. I'm going to go goalkeeper. I'm going to go midfielder and striker because. So I would say midfielder. I would say I'm torn between Derek Esplin and Paul Fries. I would probably swing towards Esplin because they're a wee bit younger.
Okay.
But two of them get this sort of attitudes that I like, very, very similar to when I had Sean Fraser. That attitude and that drive and that desire and a wee bit of cockiness about them and don't really care what people think. I quite like that. So I would probably say Dale Esplin. And striker, yeah. I'll probably go with Brian Boylan.
Okay.
Because I like the way he leads the line and he does a selfish task up there and he doesn't care if he's up there on his own and he creates chances out of nothing and he works his socks off, sort of player I like. So I'd probably say Brian Boylan.
Okay. Best player played with?
See, I would have that differently when I played because when you play, you just think of ability, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
And when you're a manager, you think of training, attitude, what type of person they were. I would probably say play with some right good players. Overall, if I think in my management head, I would probably say Wally Wilson or Mark Bradley.
Okay. Who's the worst?
Chris McFadden.
Who's the best player you've managed?
Switch your computer off, Walker.
No worry.
Oh, listen. It's a difficult one. I mean, Walker's in there. There's probably 3 spring to my head, to be fair. I'd probably say best player for me, just again, types of player I like, probably Scott Walker or Sean Fraser.
Okay. Win the league or win the Scottish Cup?
Well, we're still in the Scottish and we're not going to win the league, so I'll say Scottish Cup.
Favourite manager in the league?
For what they're doing, I mean, it's a bit of
Favourite manager, like the best, like when you play against them, who do you look forward to having a cup of tea with at the end of the game?
Listen, I've got a lot of time for Murdy McKinnon. Michael Kennedy's always a good lad as well, Michael. But obviously I've only played against him once. The game got cancelled on Saturday. So I'd probably say my long-standing relationship, I would say Murdy McKinnon.
Okay. That is your run-up. So, Scott, you're on the spot now. And Stuart, you can chip in with these as well. If you feel as if that Scott's saying a right or wrong answer, then chime in. So, Scott, are you ready to be put on the spot?
Yeah.
Who's the best trainer at Rob Roy?
Jack Gordon or Keane. Jack Gordon's just a pest.
Agree with that.
Who's the worst?
Go for Matty Kerr.
Agree with that.
Who's the team hard man?
Connor Bell. He's the angriest guy I know.
Who's the
Far
most
off
skillful?
I'll go for Robbie Layton or Craig Truesdale.
Stuart, who do you think?
Probably Robbie Layton.
Okay. Quickest player?
Certainly not me. Robbie again, probably. No. Robbie Jack or Keane, I think. Is it not?
Baber.
A Baber as well.
We've got a few speed merchants in the team, so it'll be quite an interesting one. That.
Who's the slowest?
I'm always at the back at doggies, aren't I? But,
Aaron Ross.
Alan Ross, I
Who's the best character?
Wee Sean McMonagle, I think he's got to be absolute bomb scare.
Who's got the worst dress sense?
Ian Gold dresses like a school teacher.
Final question, who's the teacher's pet?
Someone will probably say me, no doubt. Jack Gordon again. Every time Max is talking, he's just nodding his head. Every time.
So we're going with that. That's you in the spot. Obviously, but if you know how the show works, you know we get to the stage where we open the floor up to some fan questions, which basically means we get in touch with your teammates or people that have known you in the game and we dig some dirt on you. So we've got a few here. So we're going to just go through these one by one. Who was at fault for the goalkeeper scoring for Pollock on Saturday?
That'll be one of my mates sent us in. Same year.
Stuart, who was at fault?
Walker. Watching the video, Walker.
Who has the better teeth?
That's
Better teeth.
Who's the better teeth?
Well, I've been already told I've paid for Walker's teeth, so I have to say Walker.
Right, we've got a few here for one particular individual.
Gary Carroll. Oh, yeah.
Stuart, how did it feel to come out of retirement to play half a dozen games for us as a 41-year-old? He even managed a goal against Maryhill. And does he have any plans to make any more appearances as a player?
No more appearances as a player. I've the lockdown's done me in. I did actually think before that I could do a job in my mind somewhere, but definitely now I'm done. But Scott will tell you, I've only come out of necessity, but it's quite funny because the game I came on at Maryhill and scored, I took Lee Gallagher off and he came off shaking his head going, can't believe you've took me off for you. And I went, well, you've not done anything for 75 minutes for you, man. He went, what are you going to do for 15 minutes? Went on and set up Gavin Mackey and scored a header at the back post. His Walker and all that were absolutely caning him after the game, so that was quite funny. But you know, I mean, you couldn't write a script for that, could you? But no, it's always good to put a jersey back on, but I wouldn't. It's not a thing that you want to do because the spotlight's on you. You make any mistakes, you've done that, and you tell me not to do that. So no, there's absolutely no chance I'm putting boots on this year. No chance.
Scott, how does it feel to be the top goal scorer after 17 competitive games, considering you're right back and had only scored 2 goals in his previous 5 seasons?
I don't know how I've ended up in the family, to be fair. I don't think everybody in the club's hit one. So I don't know how I've ended up on them.
This is for Stewart. Why is there a shortage of Lucas Aid sport in central Scotland? Is it Brexit, COVID, or your training sessions?
Definitely our training sessions.
What's the story behind that?
What we do is, on a Monday night, at the end of training, we do the volleys, and whoever doesn't score brings the Lucas Aid Sports in on a Saturday. So I've got them all terrified. Me and Chris are right in some of our heads now. So it's either me or Chris that does the feed, and some of them are just, they can see the fear and the fear of having to lose to bring them in. Some of the boys are only young, 17, 18, or having to go in and get their, I think they're stealing money out of their ma's purse to pay for the Lucas Aid, you know what I mean? So we've got the fear factor in the scope, which is good. So the standards been right good the last couple of weeks here.
Brilliant. Ask Scott why he waited till the team had missed 6 penalties in 2 seasons before he nominated himself as a Rob Roy Tavernier.
I think you've got to get him at the strikers first, haven't you? Trying to get a bit of confidence up. Hadn't he scored in 4 games?
Next one, ask the gaffer why he brought a new coach to the club and ordered him a tracksuit with flared bottoms.
So, if you see me fail, so we've ordered new gear, and my gear's perfect, right? Fucking perfect. And so brought a coach in. I'll no name him because he still thinks I had nothing to do with it. It was actually Chris McFadden that stitched him up. So he was walking up the hill to training, and obviously and Chris had ordered me the gear. And I looked down and went like, look at the Dan Dares on him, Chris. The flares at the bottom. So he came up to training and he's going, all right, lads. And we're like, all right. You're a wee bit loose at the bottom, you know. And he's walking in and he started to tuck them up and all that. So he said they get stitched up. So Chris got my pair of flares at the bottom, so they're flared right out. So it was actually, it's a wee joke. It's carried on for about 18 months now, so it has.
Brilliant. Next one, ask the skipper about his signing on fee for this season. Was it cash or a makeover? He'll know what you mean.
Just put towards my teeth anyway, that's all I need to know.
Max has played and scored in every one of the 10 seasons he has at Rob Roy. Is it true the coaches are insisting that the streak is finished this season?
100%. See when they introduced the 20s, Scott, that killed me. that was my death. That was my death drum, because there's more chance of a 20 come up with player than me digging the boots out when you're doing 11 players in a midweek game. So that was a 10 season in a row. That was it done.
Definitely. This is for both of you, but we'll start with Scott. Ask the two of them how many holidays is the goalkeeping coach allowed in a single season?
It's never there, is it?
Stuart, what's the story behind that?
Oh, listen, he's had more holidays than busman's holidays, to be honest. But he's clever enough. But when COVID came in, that wee loophole of COVID, he's had COVID 17 times. And he's the first guy in the world to have COVID that many times. You know what I mean? So he latched onto the COVID thing, he latched onto the PCR test, he latched onto lateral flow. Any loophole to get out of it, he's there.
Actually, I think that might be the next one.
What's that?
They got a sore calf in it, so that might be his next.
Aye, what? He came in and played with me last Sunday for Dukla. I played for the Dukla Pumperson boys. They were a goalie short, and I brought him in, and he's tore his calf. So he's walking about. He's got a free pass because it's on me. So nobody can say anything to him because that was me who got him injured. So, but he's been unbelievable. But he's settled in a bit this year. He's only had 6 holidays this year, to be fair.
Next one, this is for Scott. Scott was at Kelly with Gary Locke. Can you ask him if he feels the one-on-one sessions Gary gave him helped him come this far in his career, and do you still have Gary Locke's boots?
It's a big studs. I don't wear them, but they're honking. But
and how do you feel about Mick Doyle having a better career than you when you were both at Kelly together?
Oh, he's been done well. Can't complain about it.
This is for the final ones for Stewart. Can you also ask Stewart if he'll give you a song, as he was the only one not to join in the bus home from Aberdeen?
A good question, actually.
Well, I didn't sing in the bus home for Aberdeen, but when they all came in on Monday night, hung over Saturday, I set up a Union Jack 20-minute run, and 15 minutes into it, when they couldn't speak, I started singing Tragedy, because that's what it was looking like on their faces. It was a tragedy, so it was. So singing's no my strong point. And so that's why I let a couple of other coaches up to sing.
Right, we've got a couple of kind of serious questions here. We will ask Scott, first of all, how excited are you for the next few games ahead, and who are you looking forward to coming up against?
I'm looking forward to the Scottish Cup game, to be honest. Hopefully we can progress in that. So that's the one I'm looking forward to the most.
Brilliant. Stuart, this is a one for you as well. Is there any developments in the stadium, and how badly needed is it to get your own base set up at the club? We've kind of touched on this, but is there any kind of developments in the stadium and potentially going back to Kirkintilloch in the near future?
I think Neil Anderson, chairman's got a plan to liaise with the council regarding this. The facilities now been passed. There's been a slight change in what we thought was happening with Kirkintilloch, Rob Roy's involvement, and I don't know what the latest is in that, but it's a must for Kirkintilloch, Rob Roy to survive. And if you want me to be doomsday scenario, if it didn't happen for whatever reason, I don't think Rob Roy would continue. And I think everything that's been built there would quickly evaporate. But if they do get back, let us say, fantastic club, fantastic supporters, fantastic chairman and small committee now. But if that club can get back into Kirkintilloch, which is, and Scott will tell you, when we're doing really well, they come out in their droves. And there's so much a hotbed of talent there, younger kids coming through. We've got a good 20s team. There's good local boys clubs that we're affiliated to as well. So if that can all come together, the future for Kirkintilloch, Rob Roy, and the future for the kids in that area with a pathway going through now, obviously with all being involved in senior football, I think can be great. So it's an absolute must for the club, and the club deserve it. They deserve it. They've took a lot of stick. People asking silly questions about why did they do it? Where's the money? The money's still there that they've got for the park. That's not disappeared. And they had no option but to do it because they felt it was an opportunity to try and build a custom-built facility, which a lot of teams in our league are doing. You can see a lot of teams are spending money on infrastructure. Like this, Irvine Meadows done, Colwynning, Darvel, to name but a few. I mean, they're all striving to get to that next level, and that's where Rob Roy's got to be. And if they don't get that opportunity to do that, I don't think they'll be there, and which will be very sad sad day. But for such a club with nearly 150-year history, do you know what I mean? So, I come back to what I say is I think it's got to happen within the next year anyway, and I'm very confident it will. I think they'll come to a compromise and get the club back where they should be.
Brilliant. Well, we've just had a question come through here actually since we started recording. This is for Stuart. Why did you make the switch from Linlithgow to Bathgate?
Well, there were two good sides at that point, and I think, to be honest, when you were playing through in East back in the early 2000s, there wasn't a lot of West players, and I got a sort of wind that Bathgate were going to make a big push for glory that year, and I got an opportunity. But you know the way it works. Like the games I think back, the games I played against Bathgate, I played really well, and Willie Hill spoke to me, and let's say I knew a few well documented ex-seniors going in that year, and for me it was always about trying to win something. Do you know what I mean? Rather than the money. I know I'm expecting Chris McFadden to come on here and say I went for the money and all that, but it certainly wasn't. I mean, I'm waiting for that to come up, but no, it wasn't about money for me. It was about trying to ambition. But let's say I knew that a few of the boys that I'm good friends with were going there, and I thought we got a right good chance. And Linlithgow was a well-run club, but I just don't know. It just didn't quite click for me. And I thought there's a wee chance here to go and try and win something. Let's say we nearly won everything that year at Bathgate. So that was the reason, before anybody thinks it was for money or anything.
Before we finish up, we'll obviously talk about what's coming up for Rob Roy. You've got a tough run of games coming up between now and the kind of Christmas break. He's going to quit years, host Colwynning, and then you've got a hard run of away games, likes of Talbot, Hurlford, Clydebank and Bees. Scott, how do you feel about that run of games, and how important is it to maybe get a couple of kind of results out of that?
For me personally, I probably like playing against the so-called bigger teams better. But like we said, if we get into Christmas and we're still in the mix, then I think we'll be happy with that.
Stuart, what's your thoughts on those kind of games coming up? Is there a particular game that you're kind of thinking you can maybe get a result on?
I wouldn't say that. Just, if I say that, that'll be the changing room team talk before the game, won't it? No, they're not nothing. As I say, I mean, even we spoke about or talked about the teams winning about us in a serious note. I mean, I told you the qualities I thought they had, and they're all good sides in their own right. So, as Scott said, the so-called bigger teams in our league. I think it's a good chat. I mean, Scott will tell you, I speak to the boys quite in depth every week at training, and I'm looking forward to playing this, like I say, the teams that are in the top half league, because I think players can excel and get above their expectations. Grasping some of them will have big crowds, like the Talbot games and things like that. And so I think, listen, it'll be tough games as they all are, but we're more than capable of producing a shock here or there. And I think if we can manage to beat one of the bigger teams, I think it's good for the confidence for the younger players, because they know that they can go and do it. And then again, you're breaking a psychological barrier. We were at the start seeing could win a game, then went on a run a game. So if we can manage to get a result along the line there and pick up a few points, be happy with that. But it's like, I'm looking forward to these games, because we're not expected to win. And so but within our camp, we're hoping we can go and produce a shock or two, definitely.
Do you think this season's a bit kind of one of those kind of seasons that you can't prepare that far ahead, because of obviously that there's a lot of teams kind of similar level. Like we know obviously that Auchinleck are going on and kind of top the league and things like that. But do you think there's this season in particular? Obviously, we know how many teams are going down. It's sort of just go week to week. You can't prepare that far in front because of the way the season's going to work.
I think if you look at it, like if you've got to go week to week, teams are scrapping for points left, right, and centre.
Yeah.
If you can sting a couple of 2 or 3 weeks, the leagues, especially the middle of the leagues, fluctuating like the stock market.
Yeah.
1 minute you could be in the top 8, next minute you're down to 12, and you're in between that. And some teams are preparing out themselves at the bottom 7. So I think it's just a scrap every week. And I highlight to my boys, try and pick up points in games that you maybe didn't deserve to pick up, or try and sneak a win that maybe it was going to end up panning out a draw. That's important. A couple of teams round about us, I've noticed, have done that. Glencairn have been really good at that. They've picked up points when they've been dead and buried. Against Kilwinning, I think they were 4-1 down.
4-1 down, I drew 4 each.
Done it against Beef as well. I think they've done it against some. I mean, and I actually spoke about that. I mean, that resilience of picking up a point or maybe turning that point into 3 points, that could be really, really crucial over the course of the season. So I think that's something we need to do. We've not been good at that so far. We've either won games or lost games. Let's say we managed to get a draw at Largs behind. But I think that'll be, when you look back on your season with all the teams that are in that sort of middle to bottom half of the league, you look back and you'll say, well, we nicked points there, and that could be crucial to the difference between staying at the bottom 7 and staying in the league, sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely. We are going to wrap up the show there. I just want to wish you both best of luck for the season ahead. It's been an absolute pleasure to be both on the show. Thanks very much for coming on.
Thanks a lot, Scott.
Brilliant.
Appreciate it.
Thanks very much to everyone who's tuned in. Please subscribe to our podcast and YouTube channels and follow us on social media for consistent West of Scotland content. We'll be back next week for 2 more West of Scotland football shows extra on the channel, so tune in for them. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll see you soon. Cheers.